Hi, welcome to the channel. Welcome back if you're a current subscriber. Today I'm doing another older Julia Zelg video just because I know I have some subscribers that really have been interested in Julia Zelg content and I haven't done anything about that in a while, so let's get started.
We started messaging more often and we would go on dates sometimes and then, we kissed and everything and it was lovely. And for a month or two, we went on a few dates and it was always nice. We didn't at any moment say we were in a relationship and we didn't
So a few things to begin with. I skipped a lot of this because it would take a very long time to go through. So I do want to make a few quick notes here. This is a story time about Julia Zelg going on dates with some woman that she found attractive, and this woman mentioned she speaks Spanish and she learned Spanish from someone she lived with, and Julia took this as past tense, this alleged ex that this girl had, and did not ask or really look into that or think about that much further. And then basically one day she does. There were some red flags she mentions a little later in this video where she talks about she was not going over to this woman's house, but that woman was always coming to her house. However, they had not noted that they were exclusive. They were going on these dates that my assumption is Julia thought they were dates, but this lady that she calls Heather didn't think they were dates. And so that's sort of where we are. But I want you to notice body language wise. She's kind of all over the place over illustrative when she's not being truthful, most likely. Not guaranteed, but most likely. She's all over the place over illustrative. When she has a few illustrators, that's different. Illustrators being her telling and signaling places of things, people behind her. If she were to do something like that, that would probably be more of an indication of honesty. When she's still, that is a bit closer to her baseline, but can also at the same time indicate deception because she's not illustrating where things are. We tend to talk with our hands as I'm doing. Of course, I am illustrating to you how she might be illustrating. So I want you to notice that and notice her blink rate being rapid in some parts and not in others. And I will, of course, let you know when that is and what I think about that. But if it's not in a group of indications of deception, it's most likely not deception. It could be one-off things. She doesn't self-groom a lot in this, but there are some parts where she does, and that indicates anxiousness, potentially because she's being deceptive. Not guaranteed. So just several things I'm going to be looking at here. Mostly because several of her story times have been untrue, and that has been confirmed. That has not been just me saying that because I don't like her. I don't have any kind of bias towards Julia, but I do see these things and I know what's been confirmed, and a lot of her story times have been untrue, where she likes to paint herself as this victim when she's not. So I really wanted to look into this particular story about her allegedly being not necessarily cheated from, but she fell for this woman that had a girlfriend. So that's what we are going to look at, but I did skip a lot of content and this is what we started on.
Discuss anything like that, but I didn't think anything of it. I thought it was just too soon for that because we had just met and I was just enjoying it and finding it lovely. And I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of falling for her because she was just so sweet and she treated me so nicely and I thought she was awesome. But then I was talking to
I also want to note the performative behaviors here, where she's not just telling us a story, she's trying to act out this story. Now, when we go back and recall information and scenes sometimes from our past, we might put ourselves back in that place mentally and emotionally. So you could be seeing a bit of that, but you can also be seeing her really playing into this being a story time and making it more elaborate and exaggerated than what actually took place. You'll see her act out emotions, whereas a lot of this she's looking down. Sometimes that's her trying to recall what happened in that particular time. Sometimes it's just sadness, of course. And then when she smiles almost immediately after that display of potential sadness, that's performative. She's really trying to play up the emotions. She's also giving a lot of details, which can be an indication that she's hesitant about what she's going to say next because maybe it didn't actually happen. So a few things to notice there that could tell us that this is not a fully true story.
my mom about her because every time I would go on a date with her, I would call my mom after and tell her all about it because I'm lame as So I was talking to my mom about this girl. Let's give her a name. Heather. Heather. I don't know why Heather. It doesn't sound like her name at all. So I was talking to my mom about Heather, and I was like, "Oh, she's so cute. She's this, she's that, da, da, da." And my mom, oh my god, my mom, she knows her stuff. She's not.
Some of the behaviors we're seeing in this particular clip are just her really making this an atmosphere of someone talking to a friend. So it is a bit performative, not an indication of deception or anything there, but could be a sign of anxiousness where she's not just telling us the story. Again, she is going into a lot of detail, which can indicate hesitation in what she's going to say next because it's possibly not true. But she's illustrating and being performative, and that can indicate deception, her not fully telling us just what took place. It might not. Now, I do notice her eyes are all over the place. She's not just telling us. And that's the sort of thing that could hint that she's really trying to make this a performance, a story time for YouTube and not just telling us the story. And that happens at times where someone might really want to stretch out the story for the sake of YouTube time. You have to have a specific video length before you could put mid-roll ads in. So I understand, but when it gets too descriptive, that can indicate deception potentially, because instead of me telling you I went to the cafe, if I'm sitting here saying I went down the sidewalk, and the sidewalk I noticed was very grainy, and I was really looking at the shiny rocks on the sidewalk, and there was another person coming, and I've just completely lost what I was actually trying to tell you. It really takes away from the story. And most likely you would think, well, did you really just go to a cafe? Or was there something else there that took place that you're not letting us know? Some of that is happening here. There are signs of that in this when she becomes really overly performative.
An idiot like me. She said, but has Heather asked you at all, like whether or not you have a girlfriend or anything, if you're single? And I said, well, no, she hasn't asked me, but I didn't think she would because we met on a dating website, right? We wouldn't be on a dating website if we weren't single.
Her eyebrows go up when she says, I didn't think she would. That's emphatic. That is her honestly saying, well, yeah, I hadn't thought of that, when she's talking about her mom questioning her about this date. And so we're seeing a little bit of honesty there, and this is her baseline. That entire clip, that's her baseline. When she's just all over the place, that is not her baseline. So you'll start to see, hopefully, and I will point it out, when she starts to veer away from that.
Single, I didn't ask her either because I kind of like just assumed she would be single because she was on a dating website. That is actually not the first time I make this mistake. You know, I expect good things from people usually. So anyway, I said to my mom, I didn't think that was a big deal because I thought it was obvious. But my mom said to me that she thinks that even if it's obvious, if someone is interested, they will usually say something about it. Even if they...
So now you see her really start to be a little more performative. You see her blink rate increase, which is like a shuddering of it. It's just an indication that she might be deceptive. Some things just to note there, but other than that, what I'm seeing is her blink rate increase, a lot of eye blocking, her either closing something out or keeping something in physically with her eyes, and her being really all over the place here.
They think they already know the answer. They will comment something or make some remark or whatever. And she didn't. So my mom thought it was suspicious. Well, she didn't just think it was suspicious. She was full on like, oh, I think she has someone else. And I was like, oh, my heart. No. Why? I mean, there was no reason for me to feel anything because I had just pretty much just met the person. But I was like... no, please don't let it be true. It's so upsetting. So I decided to do the normal thing that any normal, healthy person...
See, when she's being performative like that, that's not an issue. This is YouTube. She's trying to be entertaining during this story time and reenact emotions that she is not physically currently feeling. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just that, of course, we then don't fully get reality of what took place during that time. I'm not going to say that's an indication of deception. It's just a reenactment and not her just telling us what took place. And so it takes away from the reality of the situation. It really tells us, well, is the whole thing a performance? It might might be. Is the whole thing untrue and just a scene you're trying to play up that didn't actually happen? You don't know. Now, of course, I'm not going to say that's the case. That's probably not the case. Parts of this probably did take place, and there are hints of honesty sprinkled into this, but the performance part really takes away from that.
Person would do in that situation, which is not to ask the girl, but to look through everything that she's ever posted on social media like a psycho. So I was looking through this woman's Instagram and she didn't have many pictures at all. And I'm so used to most people having like...
I also want to note the hands where she was saying and she didn't say anything. All of that being an indication of openness and honesty. But then her hands close off like she's really not confident in telling us what she has to say here. As that didn't maybe happen or she was anxious about that happening. You see her mouth go down. She has this almost frown, which is very difficult to do. But of course, she's talking about a time when she did something that was pretty bizarre. She goes digging into the social media pages of Heather.
Their whole lives out on social media, and because I'm like that, I post so much on social media, obviously. So I was like, oh my god, this girl is mysterious as heck. There's nothing to be found on her social media. There were maybe like 10 posts, not even that. I didn't have much to work with. But then I had the brilliant idea, because I'm a mother detective and also very sad. I decided to look through everyone this woman followed on Instagram. Oh my god, I would like to think I would never do shit like that nowadays. I would like to think that like I am busier and I have a life, but that's what I did. Don't judge me. I was very sad. So
you're starting to see what's called adapters. If you've ever watched other channels that are covering body language analysis, like the Behavior Panel, for example, they really talk a lot about adapters, that almost self-soothing, and you're seeing that there. So those are adapters wanting to calm down, not a confidence in what she's saying at all, which is, it sort of matches what she's saying because, again, this is a bizarre time in her life when she was doing something that she knows she shouldn't have been doing, and you probably wouldn't talk about that in a very manner. So again, not necessarily an indication of deception there.
So I literally went through everybody she followed, and there were a lot of celebrities, some random stuff. I was going through, not finding anything interesting, when I came across a profile of a Spanish woman. Now, you remember, right? She said she used to live with a Spanish woman. So I was like, oh my god, do you think that's her ex? I think that might be her ex because she's Spanish. Or she might be like a friend of her ex's. I was like, oh my god, that's juicy. So I clicked on her profile. Well, no, I clicked on her profile first because that's how I found.
So again, a lot of indications of her not being calm and confident about what she's saying, some anxiety, a lot of illustrations, but touching. So a lot of things going on there that indicate she's a bit nervous about this. I also want to say that usually when someone's digging this deep in someone else's social media, trying to find something that's wrong, that's a red flag or an indication that they're cheating or something along those lines, it's either A, they really are afraid to commit to this person in the first place, they really have second guesses and doubts about this situation in the first place, and they're maybe subconsciously, maybe they're not fully conscious of this, but they're looking for indicators that this won't work out so that they feel less guilt when they cut things off, when they quit the situation, the relationship. If they cut this person off, they feel less guilt. That might not be what's happening, but it also could mean that she, Julia, was also with someone else at the time. So that's very possible. Sometimes cheaters will project and accuse their partner or potential partner of cheating when they're cheating. And again, this goes back sometimes to not wanting to feel as much guilt about their own behaviors. So just a thing to note there, not a guarantee of any of that, but to dig this deep in this woman, Heather's social media profiles tells me that there was something else going on there that Julia either wasn't fully aware of or didn't want to feel as guilty about, and she's not letting us know.
Found out she was Spanish. I think it said something about being a Spanish woman living in London. And this Spanish woman, let's give her a name. Luna. Oh, I love this name. Luna. So I looked through Luna's profile. She seemed nice, but she also didn't have that many photos, and I was like, what's wrong with people? I'm trying to stalk you. Why aren't you posting? Oh.
So I'm skipping a lot of this. It's basically her digging into Instagram, Facebook, just whatever she could to hunt down Luna and Heather, and she comes across this album on one of Luna's Facebook profiles of herself and Heather that seemed to be from a few years prior, but confirmed to Julia that Heather and Luna were a couple because, at least at one point, because Julia assumes that you don't take anybody else to, especially not an ex, to a wedding. So it was a photo album of a wedding. So that's what we're seeing here. Just to catch you, I didn't want to sift through all of that. This is already probably going to be long enough. So she's continuing to display signs of anxiety with this. It's not confidence at all. It's over illustrative. She's not just telling us. Again, earlier I showed a clip of what her baseline is versus what we're going to see here.
That was definitely Heather's girlfriend. But those photos were really old from a few years before that time. So I was like, oh, okay, whatever, no big deal. That just confirms my suspicions that this was her Spanish ex. And that's good because it means she told a true story. She said she had a Spanish ex, and she does. And here are the photos to prove it. But I was still not convinced 100% that that was it, because it was just strange, right? That she didn't ask me to go to her house or anything like that. So I decided to ask her. No, I decided to go back to Heather's Instagram and have another look-see. Just to
So continuation of increased link rate and over illustrations. Just something real quick to note. Nothing really different or unique from what I've said prior to this earlier in this video, but I did at the same time want to stop and note that that is continuing. She's not calm and just confidently telling us what she has to say.
In case I missed something. Psycho. So I went back to Heather's Instagram and I decided to look through the comments on her few posts to see if there was anything from Luna. I just looked through the comments and it was pretty quick because Heather didn't have that many photos and she didn't have that many comments. So it's just a pretty quick search and I didn't find anything. However, I noticed that Luna had also liked all of Heather's photos. And that would be okay, right? Because they were a couple, they always liked each other's photos. Normal. Remember I said Luna's posts were quite old and the photos of them at the wedding on Facebook were also quite old, so, could be an ex. However, and that's when my heart broke.
Overly performative. She has a lot of adapters going on, a lot of self-soothing behaviors. Basically here, signs of anxiety, and this just continues to be a performance. And again, she is dug so deeply to try to find something wrong, and there's usually a reason for that.
I noticed that some of Heather's posts were recent. They were from that year. And those recent posts had also all been liked by Luna. And that's when I realized they were still together. If you broke up with someone, you might still be friends, but you're not gonna like every single post from that person after you broke up.
I also want you to notice the difference in her demeanor, how she went from, and I noticed they had comments, and I was going through this website, this downtrodden demeanor versus when she tell us, and then I noticed his comments, and then I noticed, and then let me tell you, and she's suddenly upbeat and almost excited about this. This is not someone who is heartbroken. So again, an indication that this is not fully the reality of what took place, and that this is a situation where she possibly dug deep for something because she didn't want to feel guilty about something else.
So I was like, okay, I'm pretty sure they are still together. And although I hadn't been seeing Heather for that long, I'll admit I was pretty upset. I mean, I didn't really have maybe the right to be upset because we weren't in a relationship and it was still like early days, but I was kind of upset. Well, that's what I get for not asking, I guess. Hey, this is Editing Julia straight from the future again. And I can't believe I forgot to tell the most dramatic part of the story. Okay, so a couple of days after I made that discovery on Instagram, I went on another date with Heather. because I thought, maybe it's just me being crazy and overthinking things. Maybe everything is just fine. So I went on another date with Heather, and as soon as I saw her, to be honest, I completely forgot about everything. I was like, oh, I'm sure it's fine. She's so sweet. She's so lovely. I'm sure she doesn't have a girlfriend. And I really didn't think too much about it because I was so like in the moment and everything, and it was lovely. So we went about our date. But then at some point during the date, Heather decided to show me some funny cat videos on her phone. And there we were watching funny cat videos, la la la, all cute, when a notification pops up on Heather's phone while we're watching the cat video. And whose name is on the notification? Luna. And not just Luna, Luna's whole full name. Ah! And also, it happened too fast. I didn't actually read the whole thing, but I did get the sense there was like a sweet little message from Luna. Ah! I didn't know whether to be like really upset because obviously my suspicions had been confirmed, or to be really proud because I was a very good detective. Because before that happened, I already knew like her full name, what she did, where she lived. No, I shouldn't have been proud of that. Like, I was a creep. But it was out of insecurity, not out of, wanting to be creepy. Yeah, that happened. So then I was sure. But I wanted to believe, still after that, I wanted to believe that maybe they were just exes who were best friends. So, okay, let's get back to past Julia so she can finish telling the story. I still had a little bit of hope that maybe I was just reading too much into things and that maybe...
Again, I want you to know that, and then she says, I just wanted to have a little bit of hope. It's not the demeanor of someone who would feel hopeful and excited versus when she's talking about the actual allegedly catching Heather cheating part, where she seems excited and upbeat and really wants to tell us all about how she really caught this person and she's smiling in a good bit of it, and that's not someone heartbroken, which, of course, benefit of a doubt here, this isn't someone she had spent a lot of time with, that she was fully committed to, allegedly, according to herself, and so maybe there's not really a good reason for her to have been heartbroken, but to tell us that she was a bit crushed by this, that she felt sad, and then not have the body language to match with that can indicate deception, something she's not telling us there. I'm going to end this here, and let me know your thoughts in the comments section. Hopefully this has been helpful in some way in learning when people might not be completely honest with you, especially when they're trying to give you a sob story, which is a bit manipulative most of the time. So let me know your thoughts in the comments section. Please hit the like button, subscribe, and thank you for watching.